What I like best about the Terry and Jesse show is that it revives my hope in men to be godly men.
It's a really good show because it's relatable to family life, daily life. It's encouraging. It's like cheerleading also for Catholics. But number one, the reason I like it because you guys aren't afraid to speak the truth.
You are both the most compassionate hosts I've ever heard. And as a Jewish convert, I am a much better informed Catholic. Thank you, Terry and Jesse.
I just think it's the best thing that we have here in LA. It's awesome. I'm hooked.
This is the Terry and Jesse show. We invite you to this holy hour of power. This is not low-energy Catholic radio. We're two Catholics with a PhD in common sense. Our program is not right versus left. It is right versus wrong. And this is Catholicism for the blue-collar man. This is where Catholicism and our culture intersect. Today we have an exciting show. As you all know, we have a spiritual warfare conference coming up January 14th and 15th. And our main speaker, the person that we're highlighting in this conference, and he deserves to be highlighted, is Zachary King. We have him on today. This is a modern story of divine mercy. This is a man who was part of the Church of Satan for 26 years. He was a high wizard for 11 of those years. That would be like the equivalent of a bishop in the Catholic Church. He's now an on-fire Catholic, and this is what I call a high-level defection. This is even better than a terrorist from ISIS coming to the Catholic Church or a terrorist from the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. This was a terrorist from Satan who is now a Catholic Christian. Brother Zachary, welcome to the Terry and Jesse show.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate being here.
Zach, we want to get right on we'd like for the audience to get to know who you are. If you can give the audience a bird's eye view of who Zachary King is in about 5 minutes so we can start pummeling you with some questions that people want to ask you.
Absolutely. I'll give them the Reader's Digest condensed version.
Excellent.
I was a Satanist for 26 plus years. In that time, I was a high wizard for 12. I joined my first coven when I was 12 years old. I was officially a member at 13. I'd broken all 10 commandments by 15. I helped commit 146 abortions, broke up 120 churches, and did every sin under the sun. And the Blessed Mother decided that I was who she wanted in her army 8 years ago. And a woman came up to me in a mall, and I was a manager of a store. She came up and gave me a blessed miraculous medal.
Wow.
And that instantly converted me. And in that instant, I knew everything that was Catholic was right, and that's where I needed to be. And that's where I've been ever since.
Fantastic.
Zach, let's get right into the questions here. A lot of people have asked us questions on this, so I've kind of saved them up, and here they are. Zach, can you describe the devil either theologically or experientially? Just kind of as a quick definition of who he is.
The devil, it's the devil or Satan or the great dragon, from the Bible, which is the person that we fight against the hardest. He's the root cause of all evil. Unfortunately, a lot of men don't really need the devil because they aspire to do evil on their own. But he's, for lack of a better term, he's like a piece of crap. But he's decorated. So he's like, it looks like he's a piece of gold. It looks like he's platinum. You see all this glitter and the lights and the bright shininess and the spotlights on him, and everybody wants that. And then when you decide, yeah, that's what I want, that looks a lot better than that rugged cross, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go for the piece of gold. And you pick it up, and your hand is covered in crap.
Yeah.
And you don't know why. He is like absolutely the last person you should ever attempt to trust or listen to.
Well said. Zachary, for those who just tuned in, you're listening to the Terry and Jesse show. Zachary, as you mentioned, he's a former Satanist. He's going to be at our conference, the Spiritual Warfare Conference, January 15th and 16th. You can only go on our website to register today because all of our computers are down, unfortunately, folks. Go to catholicrc.org to register, or you can call us later in the day when our systems are back up. I just have the question, Zachary. A lot of people have asked me: are there ranks among demons, and do they get along with each other? That's the question. Are there ranks among the demons, and do they get along?
There are ranks. The same as angels have ranks.
Uh-huh.
So we have like our guardian angel,
Sure.
and then right above that you have the archangels.
Mm-hmm.
And you go all the way up, and you have the seraphim and the cherubim. I unfortunately don't have the 7. I've heard there's 7, and I've heard there's 9. I don't know which is correct.
Right.
On the choirs of angels, and the demons fall into that same category. As they were all angels to begin with. One of the issues that really hit Satan in his prideful areas is that he was like a top level or the next to the top level demon, and he was kicked out by St. Michael the Archangel, which is second from the bottom level of angels.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be quite a blow to his ego. Demons do not get along. All of them are filled with pride, and if you put a bunch of people in a room that are all filled with pride, none of them are going to get along either.
Got it. Before Jesse asks your next question, I'm just told with the text that we do have internet, so maybe people can register. But Zachary, that's a very insightful answer to that question. I think Jesse has the next one.
Zach, a lot of people wonder if demons can read our thoughts. What say you? What's the story behind that?
I would think if a person is possessed, then probably, because you've given your will over to the devil. But if you're in a state of grace, or even if you're not in a state of grace, but if your will is to God, no, they can't. Unfortunately, for us, demons are such a higher level being than we are, and absolutely the devil, that, when I used to be in sales years ago, and we would go to these seminars, training seminars, and you would learn that if you're talking to somebody, you're trying to sell them a house or a car or whatever it is you want, and they've got their arms crossed, they're closed off to the sale. All you want to do is get them to uncross their arms. Even if they stick their hands down by their sides, at least they're open to the sale. If they stick their hands in their pockets, you might as well walk away because they're guarding their money and they're not going to go for the sale. If they cross their arms and one of their hands goes up and they start playing with their beard or their chin, they're ready for the sale, and you can close the deal at that point. Well, as much as we were trained on that, imagine how much smarter the devil is. Like, he can look at you, he sees your eyes light up at a certain time, and he knows this is the perfect time to cause that porn site to pop up on your internet. Or now is the perfect time to have a particular, billboard that you see, or a particular person come up to you and talk to you about something. It's like he knows when's the perfect time to present the sin to you, or to try and entice you to do something. You can't make...
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
We use our free will for that, but, he can present it at just the right time. They can't read your mind, but they can guess fairly accurately what we're, thinking or we're about to do.
Wow. Zachary, we're going to take a quick break in just about 2 minutes, but can you just define what demonic obsession and also define demonic possession, those two? Could you explain that for us, please?
Possession is when the demon has control of you. You are possessed. You are his possession.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be a partial. There are exorcists that believe that they are actually inside of you, controlling you. There are other exorcists that say no, they can't be inside your body, that they're just basically attached to you and pretty much making you do all kind of stuff that you don't want to do, you're not in control of. What was the other one?
The other one is the other one is, what does it mean, demonic possession? The other one is demonic obsession. Possession.
No, he defined possession.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're the three categories: obsession, oppression, and possession.
There you go.
You probably won't have a chance to do it, but for the next segment, if you can define those three for the audience: obsession, oppression, and possession. What's the distinction between all three? If you could do that on the next segment.
And let me just make a little pitch for our fundraiser for Immaculate Heart Radio, because we're going to turn this right back to Cy and Elizabeth. I tell folks stories because they really do elicit why we have value in Catholic radio. Last week, I got a call on Monday night, a week from today. A young man listening to our show calls and says, "I really love you guys. your enthusiasm, your knowledge on the faith. You guys have motivated me. I want to become a Catholic priest. I about fell over in my chair when he told me that. So I said, well, what kind of priest do you want to be? You have an order? You want a diocesan? I gave him 3 good sources for Franciscans. I gave him the 3 that I know are really hard, good orders. Well, that couldn't have happened without Immaculate Heart Radio. And that's why I want to encourage our listeners to support this quarterly fundraiser for the station, because we want to have that happen again and again. And that's why Terry and Jesse, we do motivate a younger generation, especially young men. I'll admit that. Why? Because we're committed to the faith, and we share that faith in a passionate way. And young people can connect with that. And so this young man now wants to become a Catholic priest because of Immaculate Heart Radio. So again, this is just one story that illustrates the value of Immaculate Heart Radio. Do you want to see that happen again and again? Well, then call this number, 888-887-2120, and make your pledge for Immaculate Heart Radio. Jesse and Terry, we're here as volunteers, okay? So our pledge is we do it 6 days a week. That's our pledge. I'd like to ask you, our listener, what's your pledge for Immaculate Heart Radio? Your prayers and your financial support are essential to keeping us on the air, because without you, we have nothing. So again, I would encourage all of you here on Immaculate Heart listening, call the toll-free number and make a pledge at 888-887-2120. And at this moment, what I want to do is turn this right back over to Cy and Elizabeth, and they're going to give you some wonderful incentives to support Immaculate Heart Radio. So at this time, I would like to run it right back to Cy and Elizabeth.
I hate to do this to Terry, but I got to make one correction. Somebody gave him a typo there. 888-887-7120 is the number. 888-887-7120 is the number. This is our December pledge drive at Immaculate Heart Radio. 100% listener supported. We need you to keep the lights on, to keep the transmitters going, all that kind of stuff. 888-887-7120.
And as Terry mentioned, I do want to go over these gifts, but you can look them on your own. If you're in front of a computer, log on at ihradio.com. There is a gifts page that will give you more detailed descriptions of things I'm going to list off right now. Every caller that calls in, whether you make a gift or you call and give us a prayer intention, will receive the 2016 Immaculate Heart Radio calendar at $25 a month, or a special gift of $300. You'll receive the book, the calendar, and the book Rediscover Jesus by the fantastic author Matthew Kelly. And at $50 a month, or a special gift of $600, you'll receive the Advent Christmas 3-pack by Bishop Robert Barron, which includes an Advent Reflections booklet, Catholic DVD series with insights about Mary, the Mother of God, and God Became Man CD, which are some of the most popular homilies by Bishop Barron. And as Cy gave such an amazing description of the $100 a month pledge level, you'll receive a pendant cross layered in 22 karat gold, and it has like a little tiny piece of the rock from the birthplace of Jesus, and you will receive a certificate of authenticity with that. So great gifts, as Terry mentioned, great reasons to give.
888-887-7120 is the number. If you want to see all those gifts that Elizabeth was just talking about, those are on our gifts page at ihradio.com. It's safe and secure there. You can make your donation there if you like, or call the volunteers, 888-887-7120. Patricia and Pacifica, thank you so much for your $150 gift in Davis, California. Carol, thank you for supporting us to the tune of $100. God bless you. All these donations help keep us on the air for the next 3 months. That's exactly how it works. Laura in Roseville, thank you for your very generous donation. And in Bakersfield, Maria sponsored a half hour of programming on her Immaculate Heart radio station, $25 a month. Thank you so much, Maria.
You know, so many people have many misconceptions about the Catholic Church, and These untruths, so to speak, about what Catholics believe aren't being cleared up by today's secular media. But Immaculate Heart Radio is sending out the truth about the Catholic faith over the airwaves 24 hours a day, 365 days a year on 33 radio stations in the West and in Hawaii, aloha, plus around the world on the internet. Now, as a Catholic, don't you want the truth about Catholics to be told in the public marketplace? This is the mission. This is it, to advance the truth of the Catholic faith. This is worth supporting. Help us keep on the air. Make a pledge today.
888-887-7120. You know, I got to look at this book, Elizabeth, The Rediscovering Jesus. And if you're someone who can make a donation at the $25 a month level, we'd love to send you that book. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Rediscovering Jesus. That's what Terry and Jesse do every day. I know people are rediscovering Jesus listening to that. We'd love to keep sharing that good news. We're 100% listener supported. Can you call and support Immaculate Heart Radio? 888-887-7120.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. Yes, we want to introduce people to the person of Jesus. That's what we're all about. Jesse, tell us a little bit who we have. Let our listeners know what we're doing here, my friend.
Absolutely. We have a high-level defector from the Church of Satan. I mean, you know, we get happy when somebody from the Taliban or Al-Qaeda or ISIS defects and becomes, a normal human being and even a Christian. Well, we have an even higher level defector. Zachary King worked for somebody that was worse than ISIS. He worked for Satan for 26 years. He was part of the Church of Satan. The Blessed Mother pulled him in, the power of her intercessory prayer, and now Zachary King is totally sold out to Jesus Christ in the Catholic Church, and he's sharing insight that only somebody that has had experience of the demonic and the occult, only somebody like him can provide these answers. And so, Zach, welcome to the show. And the question that I had lingering from the last segment, we'd like for you to give a quick definition and a distinction between possession, oppression, and obsession. What say you, Zach?
Well, obsession is, in a way, one of the more dangerous because, absolute possession is the worst one. But obsession is a lot of times caused by us. Some people, life sucks sometimes. Bad things happen. Mm-hmm. And some people get convinced that what they're going through is satanic attack. And it may or may not be, but they become, for lack of a better term, obsessed with it's got to be the devil, it's got to be demons, and they start delving into not looking into spiritual warfare, because looking into spiritual warfare is definitely the way to go. You can't fight the devil through pretty much any other method except spiritual warfare. But they look at it from a point of view of being obsessed with the demonic. They may still be a Christian, they may be Catholic, they may be going to church every day, but they're still obsessed with demonic, obsessed with evil, thinking that everything that happens to them, no matter how tiny, no matter what it is, that the devil is in charge of it. The devil is leading the charge against their life, about everything that they're doing. And a lot of these people end up with mental health issues because they become so obsessed that they can't think of anything else. In oppression, pretty much all of us within the sound of my voice have been oppressed at some point. And that is a lot of us, the closer you get to God, the more attack you're going to endure. But the more armor you have on, the less damage you can do. And I know that kind of sounds like a paradox or something, but it makes
sense to me. Yeah.
Absolutely true.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said that makes sense to me. What you just said. Why do we constantly ask our folks to have sacramentals, being close to the sacraments? That just makes sense what you're saying. But continue, because you're educating me and all of us. So continue, Zachary.
Well, as I said, it's spiritual warfare. So it's like you want to, if you can possibly go to Mass every day,
mm-hmm.
That's an awesome way to keep the devil at bay.
Right.
On the one hand, he's going to see you going to Mass every day. He's going to want to attack you. But if you're in the state of grace and you're taking the Eucharist every day, how much damage can he do to you possibly if you've got Jesus in you every day?
Amen.
If you're going to the Eucharist, going to adoration and praying a rosary, and in the Catholic Church we have thousands of ways to protect ourselves. Luckily we're not like the Protestants who believe in sola scriptura, and there's the Bible and that's all you got. I'm not saying that the Bible is a worthless tool. It's an awesome tool,
Absolutely.
But there's more. There's more to your faith than just that book. There's so much. We've got the saints and novenas and prayers, adoration, and the Eucharist, and rosaries and shotkeys, and it's just the line just goes on and on and on. And you guys will get a earful of all this at the conference.
I bet.
Zach,
in oppression, yes.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah, define oppression. That's the one you missed.
In oppression, it's the devil is pretty much a basic definition is the devil is leaning on you for doing something right, usually, but he can also lean on you for doing something wrong. You are still a Catholic, you're a good Christian, and you decide that you're going to go to a psychic. You just opened up a door. Your free will opens it. Unfortunately, your free will can't close it. You can go to confession and get it, you get forgiveness for doing it, but the door is still open, and there's a lot of steps you will have to do, and you may also need a Catholic priest to help you. It's unfortunate that once you open that door, it doesn't close as easy as it opens. But what you get, the results of that is going to be oppression. It's going to be, the devil. I say it like this: when you are looking for insurance and you find that insurance card in the value pack, you call the number and they send a representative to your house to see if you're really interested. Well, the devil is the same way. You go to a psychic or you play with a Ouija board or a tarot deck, and later they're going to send a representative to your house to see if you're really interested. And that's usually a demon, and they're going to oppress you in some way to see if you're really interested.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jesse?
Good.
Yeah,
that's crystal clear to me.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. We got Zachary King. He's going to be with us January 15th and 16th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. We're going to have a spiritual warfare conference. He's going to be giving 4 lectures, in-depth, intense. This guy's a walking encyclopedia when it comes to demonology. If you want to sign up for that conference, call up 877-526-2151. 877-526-2151. It's filling up real fast. Zachary, what's the difference between possession and perfect possession? I've heard those two terms. Is there a distinction without a difference? What say you?
Possession would be like the level that most people go to. If they're on track to be possessed, and by the way, the very first step towards possession is temptation. So you can go through all the different levels. Possession is not nice. It's not a nice place to be. But perfect possession is how they would describe like Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin. You've completely given your will over to the devil, and you're not in there anymore. You're not in that equation. It's pretty much it's not your free will that's operating anymore. It's whatever the demon's will is. And it's not like, when you're possessed, you still have your free will. You're still able to make a decision. But in perfect possession, you're pretty much gone from that equation.
Wow.
There would be some that would argue that God still allows free will. And on some level, that person may be able to enact something, but they're being fought against much stronger than the person that's just merely possessed.
Let me mention something, Zach and Terry. This is an important point I want to make.
Sure.
Right now that you define perfect possession, I've also read exactly what you said, Zach, from Father Antonio Fortea. He said that perfect possession, when somebody's perfectly possessed, he says they look normal, just like your next-door neighbor watering the lawn and walking his dog. You wouldn't know it just looking at them. And that's why Father Fortea says somebody like Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin, who are perfectly possessed. Again, they look like everybody else. They walk normal. They're not levitating. Their eyes aren't spinning back or anything. And Father Fortea says politicians and actual political parties can be perfectly possessed. I found that very interesting in light of what he says and what you say also. Terry?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do, because we're going to take a quick break again. And now I'm going to tell you another story of why you want to support Immaculate Heart Radio. And I stand corrected on that number. It's 888-887-7120 you want to call. But listen to this, folks. You remember 2 months ago when the Holy Father was visiting America? And we had Julie call in and say, hey, on the Terry and Jesse show, gosh bless you, I'm so glad to hear you guys talk about the abortion issue, because I heard, as a non-Catholic, I was watching television when the Pope was here in America, and he said that the Catholic Church has the permission for priests to hear confessions and forgive people who have had abortions. And Julie said, yeah, I had 2 abortions, and boy, I was just mesmerized by Pope Francis's visit. And I decided to go to a Catholic church to see if that was true. Well, you know the story. We've had it here. We've had her on the radio here, and now once a week I call her and just keep in touch, because she's in RCIA and her husband's joining her to become a Catholic. And I've sent her Archbishop Fulton Sheen's convert course, but it was because of Immaculate Heart Radio. That's the reason Julie is now becoming a Catholic. And we see that happen often. I get to answer the phones basically 24/7, because after hours it goes to my cell phone. I hear so many wonderful stories of people telling me that, hey, I love your show. It touched my son. When we go to school or we drive in the car, we listen to you. And we just love the message you're giving to inspire us to hang in there through this world, because, as people have told me, the world acts like God doesn't exist. But here at Immaculate Heart Radio, all through the day, we're inspiring you with great content and material that will give you a love for Jesus Christ and his bride, the church. And we get many people who come back to the church because of Immaculate Heart Radio. I know pastors who have told me their RCIA program has quite a few people that are there because of Immaculate Heart Radio. It would be a shame not to have that radio going. With your support, that's never going to happen. Your prayerful support and your financial support. I know that you're going to have some premiums that when you support Immaculate Heart Radio, you're going to get some wonderful material for the Advent season that I think will inspire you. But more importantly, you're going to keep Immaculate Heart Radio beaming all around the Southwest. As a matter of fact, all around the world through the internet. And I just want to encourage you to call the number 888-887-7120. We need more Julies to call in and want to become Catholic, but we couldn't do that without Immaculate Heart Radio. I've got more stories coming later. They're all about people coming to Christ. That's what Immaculate Heart Radio is all about. So at this time, I'd like to turn it right back to Cy and Elizabeth.
Thanks, Terry. Cy, Kellett, Elizabeth Campeasy here at Immaculate Heart Radio. This is our December pledge drive. 888-887-7120 is the number. Do you know there are 105 million Catholics?
Ahem. I'll clear it for you.
Thanks for clearing my throat, Elizabeth. In the United States, 18 million of them go to Mass. That means there's a lot of people for us to reach.
Absolutely. 888-887-7120. You can jump online at ihradio.com. As Terry and Jesse mentioned, this is our on-air pledge drive for December. Just every few times a year, we come and we say and remind you all that Immaculate Heart Radio wouldn't really be on the air, literally would not be on the air without the support of our listeners. We're entirely 100% listener supported. Thank you so much to those who called in and pledged over this past couple of hours. We're so grateful. This is an exciting time to give for many, many reasons. This is the season of giving we're in right now in this December month as we await the birth of Jesus. And it's just such a wonderful opportunity for us to share our blessings. 888-887-7120.
It's so powerful, some of us get choked up about it. 888-887-7120 is the number. Thank you so much to Janice in Novato, California. Thank you so much for your $150 gift to help keep Immaculate Heart Radio on the air. In Carlsbad, an anonymous donor just called up. Thank you from Carlsbad for supporting Immaculate Heart Radio. And in Scottsdale, Arizona, Asagid just called. I know it's I think I got that name right. I think I did it. 888-887-7120 they called to support Immaculate Heart Radio during this, our December pledge drive. 100% listener supported. 888-887-7120.
I am just overwhelmed by the generosity of one of our Immaculate Heart Radio listeners and incredibly generous donors that has an exciting gift. They want to give, when you pledge $50 a month or more to Immaculate Heart Radio, they're going to pay it forward to Uganda. St. Mary's Catholic School in eastern Uganda. They're going to provide a year scholarship, books, everything, tuition, supplies for that one student to attend St. Mary's Parish and school for a year. This is exciting. This is really a testimony to the generosity of people who listen to Immaculate Heart Radio and how they want to just make your gift reach far beyond what it could on Immaculate Heart Radio station, all the way to East Uganda, to the people in need, to give them a Catholic education, much like we get here on the air at Immaculate Heart Radio every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can be enriched by our faith. So $50 a month, if you call in or more and pledge and sponsor an hour of broadcasting, you're going to sponsor one student in Eastern Uganda to have a Catholic education. It's just so awesome.
888-887-7120. It is awesome. It says a lot about who our listeners are. And it says a lot about this donor, that this donor thinks our listeners are the kind of folks who would, that's the thing that they might want, is to, you know what, I'm going to give that donation to Immaculate Heart Radio. I'm going to support an hour of broadcasting. But then in addition to that, a young kid in Africa is going to get a Catholic education at St. Mary's. 888-887-7120.
888-887-7120. You can pledge online, safe and secure, at ihradio.com. And now we'll get you back to Terry and Jesse. Give us a call, 888-887-7120.
We're ready. We're back. This is the Terry and Jesse Show. And we got Zachary King. He's a high-level defector from the Church of Satan. And we're talking about all things regarding demonology and spiritual warfare from somebody who's a walking encyclopedia, somebody who's been there and lived it for 26 years. Zachary, can you give us a definition of what demonic infestation means? There's been many movies that have come out about dolls being infested and toys being infested. What is demonic infestation?
Generally, demonic infestation pertains to property, but not a single item of property. It's generally like a piece of land or a house or a building. And that generally means that there's a lot more than just one demon there. So like to lack of a better term, like a haunted house, there's absolutely no ghost residing in that house. It's like when you die, you're going to purgatory, heaven, or hell. It's like you're not given the option, instead of choosing one of those three, choose door number B and you get to haunt a house. No, that's not accurate. So it'd be infested with demons. And why they're there is anybody's guess. I mean, there could have been great evil that happened there prior to, this event, and now there's a lot of demons attracted to it. If you want to see a building like that, go to a building that used to be a Planned Parenthood. There's absolutely a huge infestation there. Of course, they would have been there as well when the abortions were taking place, but now that there's nobody there, there's a huge infestation. I have heard, there's curses and things put on jewelry or toys or things like that. and that generally attracts a demon. And sometimes there will be like a demon attachment at that time, but I wouldn't refer to that as an infestation.
Got it.
I have a question, Jeremy, Zachary, and this question comes from a lot of moms who ask this question. Can demons cause nightmares?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And a good way to ward that off is if you have holy oil or holy water, and do the sign of the cross on the forehead, on both eyes, on both ears, on the nose, the mouth, the throat, over the heart and the base of the neck, and then the palms of your hands. I used to have nightmares really bad of my past life.
Yes.
And it would be things that I may have did as a young child, but now I'm doing them in the dream, but I'm an adult.
Yeah.
And I can't, once you're in your dream, you can't stop it. You're not in mortal sin because of it, because it's not your fault, but it doesn't mean you want to experience it. So when I started doing these things, and these things were told to me by an exorcist, I started doing these things years ago, and that totally takes the nightmares from me.
That's awesome. Let me throw one more thought in, Zachary. Tell me if you think I'm going in the right direction. Before I go to bed, I have an image of Jesus with the little children. It's a beautiful picture, about 5 feet tall. And I asked, before I go to bed, I say, Jesus, can I jump in your lap? So I visualize myself as a little boy jumping in the lap of Jesus and having peace that night. And I find that also to be effective, but it's kind of an Ignatian way of throwing myself into Jesus' lap. Does that make sense to you, Zachary?
It does. I do a similar thing. I have a painting of the Blessed Mother on my wall next to me. It's probably about 4 foot by 5 foot.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And because it's the Blessed Mother right there, I let her know every night, I need you to watch me while I sleep.
Amen. Well said.
And we also have a big Blessed Mother statue in the living room. And I've talked to my wife about, I want to make arms that come out.
Yeah.
So that I can put a pillow there and just lay in her arms at night.
Amen. Amen, brother. You're a mama's boy. You're in the right. We're all mama's boys.
That's
Jesse,
right. And the Blessed Mother is the 12-star general.
Exactly.
So we're in good arms when we're in her arms.
Amen.
Zach, this is a question that a lot of people have, and I even have this question and want to know if you can answer it. Can demons go to hell and back to earth? Because we know that the devil and the demons were thrown to planet Earth, but we also know from private revelations, even those that are approved, like Saint Faustina and our Blessed Mother, when she and Fatima just showed the children hell and they saw demons there. Saint Faustina also saw demons there. So the question is, can demons go to hell and back to earth and back to hell and back to earth?
That's something I don't actually know. So congratulations. You've asked me a question that I don't know.
Well, you're humble enough to say that. Let me ask you a question that's kind of tied into that. Maybe you do know this one. Why does Scripture say that demons are in the air, and what does that mean?
I think that's a reference to spiritual warfare.
Okay.
That they are. There was somebody that said at one time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were a saint or who it was, but they said that if you had spiritual eyes and you could see demons, that there would be enough in the air between you and the sky to blot out the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But,
wow.
You have to imagine that if you think about how many people have been alive on this planet since it started, and, there's 7 billion now, but how many have there been total?
Right.
And everybody has a guardian angel.
Amen.
And guardian angels aren't the only angels. There's either 7 or 9, choirs of angels.
Sure.
So at 1/3 of that number are demons. Wow. That's a lot of demons.
Yeah, you just gave me a sobering thought, brother. Wow.
Yeah. Zach, I just looked it up, and it's there's 9 choirs of angels. So I guess there's the equivalent in terms of the choirs or the ranks of demons. And that quote, I just looked it up. It was Saint Padre Pio who said that. He said that if God would give us spiritual eyes, we would be able to see the demons, they would eclipse the sun. So, you just quoted Saint Padre Pio. Yeah. Zach, I think you kind of answered this question, but just again, in case we got new people every couple of minutes, do demons know the future?
No, No. No one but God knows the future, but demons can make an educated guess. They can also, like when somebody goes to see a psychic or they get their tarot cards read or something like that, they can make things happen in your life to influence the results equaling what the psychic told you. So you'll end up thinking, oh, this is the best psychic ever. I've been to them 5 times, and every time I go, these things actually happen. But what happens is that you've opened a door that you can't close, and now you're susceptible to demon influence, and they are making the people come into your life or making things happen to make your future come true. But it's not because they knew the future. They don't have that knowledge.
Gotcha. We're going to take another quick break that's very informative, but I want to remind everybody, Zachary King, Jesse Romero, Father John Struso will be at the Spiritual Warfare Conference January 15th and 16th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. Yeah, we're running short right now. If you want to get a ticket, you might want to call the 877-526-2151 number. We will call you back because our internet is down. Or go online to catholicrc.org. There's a flyer there with the schedule for the event, and you can register online by going to catholicrc.org. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but I want to give you another reason why you should be supporting Immaculate Heart Radio. Not long ago, Jesse and Terry were on the air, and a woman called and said, look, you guys saved my marriage. Well, I know we do this all the time on Immaculate Heart Radio. Marriages are brought back. But here's what happened. They were listening to rock and roll music, and one of their favorite songs was on from when they were young, and the woman didn't like it because they were fighting at the time. And she flipped the station, and who else on the radio? The Terry and Jesse Show. And they got their attention because we were talking about marital problems, and we said, through God's grace, touched them enough. They called in. They got Fulton Sheen's material on marriage. Not only did that save their marriage, she became a Catholic. She worked in the RCIA program with her husband, and they're very active Catholics today. Why? Because of Immaculate Heart Radio programming. Not just the Terry and Jesse Show. All of the programmings that are on Immaculate Heart Radio are centered on one thing. Problem, solution, right? Problem in the world, solution is Jesus Christ. That's why I want to encourage you, our listener, to call the toll-free number and make a commitment to support Immaculate Heart Radio. That number is 888-887-7120. That's the number to call for Immaculate Heart Radio. We'd love to have you support that program. I want to just mention one more thing. Jesse goes all over the country, even more than I do. Everywhere he goes, Jesse, what happens? What do people say to you everywhere you go?
This weekend, I spoke in Menifee at a Catholic church. A young Hispanic kid came in at the conference, and he told me, Jesse, as a result of listening to the Terry and Jesse Show, I'm going to become a Catholic priest. I'm going to go and I'm signing up at the Diocese of Los Angeles. I want to serve Jesus Christ as a Catholic priest. He goes, you guys inspired me. He goes, I even went out and got the Terry and Jesse application. He goes, because I want everybody, all my friends in high school to listen to this because I know you could inspire other young people. He says, you guys bring this inordinate passion that connects with young people.
Well, that's 2 guys that want to become priests because of Immaculate Heart in the last 1 week. I mean, that happens. And again, it doesn't happen without your financial support, your prayerful support. I just want to make that last pitch before I turn it back to Cy and Elizabeth, that it's important that those who listen support us because it's important that this message get out to all the world. Here in Los Angeles, it's the biggest radio market in the United States, and Immaculate Heart is here. Call 888-887-7120 to pledge your support. Final thought, if you want to go online, you can go online, and it's secure there too. But I just want to encourage you, leave your dial on Immaculate Heart throughout the day. Your kids will listen just by the very fact you having it on. I do that with my radio because I never know, even with my car, I plug it into Immaculate Heart. So if somebody drives my car, they're listening. Let's turn it back over to Cy and Elizabeth.
Thanks, Terry. Cy Kellett, Elizabeth Campisi here for our December pledge drive. And Terry and Jesse are so generous talking about it and sharing with you what our need is. And essentially, because we're 100% listener supported, we just come to you for a few minutes here for a break each hour. We get a few minutes to talk to you and tell you about what we need to cover expenses for the next 3 months. That's all we're doing. We're just covering expenses. This directly keeps Immaculate Heart Radio on the air. 888-887-7120 is the number.
On our last break, I was talking about this amazing opportunity to give at the $50 a month or more level, and a very generous Immaculate Heart Radio listener and donor that wants to pay it forward. Your dollars here at Immaculate Heart Radio stay here, but they will basically take an additional donation and pay for every one student for, I'm not making sense here. When you give it $50 or more, this triggers a donation of one student to be sponsored for an entire school year, tuition and books and everything in Eastern Uganda. Hope that makes sense.
I thought it was making sense.
Perfect. 5 over the last couple of minutes, 5 East Ugandan boys or girls have been sponsored and given a full scholarship for the next year. That is so amazing. Thank you so much to Anne, who sponsored 2 of those students from La Jolla, who gave $100 a month. Thank you so much to Richard in Scottsdale. You sponsored one of those students by giving $50 a month to Immaculate Heart Radio. And also, last but not least, Amy from Los Gatos. Thank you. Big shout out. Awesome Bay Area. Love it. That's where I'm from, and love hearing from listeners from that area. $50 a month sponsored, and that one making that 5th student sponsored for a year of tuition of a Catholic education at St. Mary's Parish in Eastern Uganda. Love it.
Let's see if we can sponsor 5 more kids, 5 more children who can go get a Catholic education, books, tuition, everything paid for. And this is in addition to your donation. That's what this donor is doing, as a way of thanking you for your donation. All the money of your donation will go to Immaculate Heart Radio, and this donor will support children. 888-887-7120 is the number. We got about 15 minutes left in this hour. Let's try to support 5 more children. And we're going to thank Patricia in Socorro, New Mexico, for your support of a child and of Immaculate Heart Radio. 888-887-7120.
888-887-7120. Keep those calls coming in. Let's keep staying strong and meet our goals and get back to regular programming all the time. 888-887-7120.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. Cy and Elizabeth, thank you for doing such a wonderful job promoting Catholic radio. Folks, think of what you're hearing right now. When was the last time you had a former Satanist and high wizard for 15 years? He was into that. He was into Satanism for 26. When was the last time you heard someone like that on the radio? Probably the Terry and Jesse Show. You know why? You most likely are not going to hear this. But this is important material to cover because we want our families to be safe. And that's why I have this next question that really it's kind of a important question for Zachary. What other objects disturb demons in order and in effectiveness? In other words, are there sacramentals that we can use that are going to fight off the devil?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anything that's holy is upsetting to them. Mm-hmm. So, if you can go and stock up on exercise salt and holy water and holy oil, mm-hmm. and wear I'm a strong proponent of Saint Benedict metal and a miraculous metal.
Yeah,
but you don't have to stop there. Those are the things that I wear. My wife, I call it her Catholic bling. She's got 60 medals or something that she wears.
Love it. Uh-huh.
Somebody gave me a miniature bust head of Padre Pio,
awesome.
And I have that on a necklace as well.
Awesome.
And get everything blessed. I mean, it's a lot less effective if you don't bless it. And as well, I mean, the woman that gave me a miraculous medal, somebody told me that an exorcist had blessed that. So, and that was able to suck me right out of Satanism and right into the arms of God.
Wow.
So it's something to be said for that. And then everything that we have in the Catholic Church. I mean, they don't want you to say a rosary. They don't want you to say novenas. They don't want you to go to Mass. And the Mass is the strongest prayer there is.
Amen.
It's one continuous prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, They don't want you to go to mass. They don't want you to be in a state of grace. They don't want you to go to confession. Has anyone ever noticed that everything in your life is fine until the day you try and go to confession?
Well said. Yeah, sure,
Yep.
that makes sense.
And then it's like hell opens up its doors to stop you.
Yep.
And it's like there's a reason for that. There's a reason that I say spiritual warfare is everything. It's like everything that they try and do against us is spiritual warfare because they're spiritual beings.
That makes
That's
sense.
right.
And we need to fight in the same way.
That's right. You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. We got Zachary King. He's going to be here January 15th and 16th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. He was a former Satanist for 26 years, and he's going to be sharing 4 different talks at the conference. And right now we're picking his brain right now on demonology and all things regarding spiritual warfare. Zach, is there a difference between possession and schizophrenia? I mean, or do they maybe they overlap? I don't know. Can you shed some light on that?
There is unfortunately a lot of overlap between the two. But there are definite signs of possession that a schizophrenic person can't do. I mean, there are things that are the same. You'll hear, I get invited. I have a standing invitation with a lot of exorcists that say, if you're ever in town, give me a call and I'll let you, sit in on one. And I've sat in on them, recently. And, it's like many times there's like a person is able to make voices, and that voice isn't theirs. But in schizophrenia, people can do that as well. There's so many things like face distortions and body movements that they mimic each other.
Yeah.
But I don't know what level of schizophrenic I don't know anybody that's schizophrenic that can levitate.
Yeah.
I don't know any of them that have hidden knowledge of stuff they couldn't possibly know, or be able to speak a foreign language that they've never been able to speak before, or have unusual strength that they've never had until now.
Gotcha.
There's just signs of possession.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you need good discernment, and you need a priest that knows, what he's doing, and to try and determine that. Because as a layperson, we shouldn't look at somebody and label them as definitely schizophrenic, because then they're not going to get the spiritual help they need. And we also shouldn't take somebody that is schizophrenic to a priest to get them exorcised if there's not an exorcisable problem.
Zachary, that brings up a question I got text to me just now. And the text is from a mom who has a couple kids, 2 actually, who are bipolar possibly, and they just freak out. They're really holy kids at one time, and then all of a sudden, it sounds the mother's saying that it's like the devil's inside of them. Would you recommend like a believing Catholic psychiatrist first, a priest, or both? Or how can she determine the issues with her children when they act like that?
Well, generally, somebody that has demonic problems has an aversion to holy items. But having said that,
yeah,
if you're with somebody that's schizophrenic, say a schizophrenic person is being exorcised,
yeah,
they will act out in the ways that they think you want them to, just to get the attention that you're giving them. So what you have to do is you have to be covert about it. I would take some exorcised salt and put it under the cushions of your couch. If they sit down and jump back up and claim something pinched them, burned them, stung them or something, that would be a sign that there's some, something demonic, or come up behind them and pat them on the shoulder or touch them on the head, but have like a dot of holy water on you when you do it. If that burns, that's a pretty good sign. But if that's not causing a problem, because those things could be done today.
Yeah.
That'd be very easy easy little telltale signs.
Sure.
I was in an exorcism a couple of months ago, and there were 3 priests in the room, and there's nothing reflective. There's no reflective surface. So the person that's being exorcised can't see who's behind them.
Wow.
And the person in front was the main exorcist, and the other 2 priests were behind him. And one of them said, "Do you mind if I put my hands over you to pray over you?" And the guy was fine with that. And so that's going on. And then the 3rd priest comes over, and puts a first-class relic of St. Faustina over his head, and he freaked out.
Wow.
Like he went crazy with having that near him,
wow.
and started screaming in another language, in guttural tones for this guy to get this.
Yeah,
this
Zachary,
relic off.
hang on a second. We got to make a quick break, Zachary. I want you to finish that story. Folks, you're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. We're doing a fundraiser with Immaculate Heart Radio. We appreciate all your support for Immaculate Heart. Give them a call right now to make your support at 888-887-7120. We're going to take the rest of this time with Zachary on our podcast to finish up the show. But if you want to call Immaculate Heart right now, I'd appreciate it to support the wonderful work of Immaculate Heart by calling 888-887-7120. Look forward to having you again tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening. God bless you.